Have you ever stopped to think about those really mysterious places on Earth? You know, the ones wrapped in these persistent rumors where reality just feels a bit thin? What is it about the unknown? Especially places that people whisper could be portals, maybe, to somewhere else? It's fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some really compelling stories. Some seem real, some are definitely fabricated, all about these alleged gates to hell.
Or portals to the underworld, yeah.
Our journey today, it's sparked by looking into a collection of these tales that have gone, well, global. And each one has its own surprising twists and sometimes even more surprising deceptions behind them.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, isn't just the stories themselves. It's more about us, about humans. Why do we create these stories? Why do we spread them? And sometimes, why do we believe them so fiercely?
Right.
So our mission today, if you like, is to sift through it all. The folklore, the fear, and the facts. To try and understand why these tales stick around and what they tell us about our own curiosity. And maybe our own gullibility at times.
Definitely. And we should probably start with one of the biggest ones, right? A story that absolutely exploded worldwide before we look at some other spots around the globe.
Makes sense. The most infamous one first.
Okay, let's dive into the Well to Hell. This story, it really grabbed people. It supposedly happened in Russia back in 1996, involving a borehole.
Siberia specifically?
Yeah, the story goes that these Russian engineers, led by a Mr. Zhukov, went out into the Siberian wasteland, and they drilled, I mean, this is the claim, an incredible 9 miles deep.
9 miles, just think about that.
It's staggering. And then supposedly they broke through into some kind of unexpected cavity, a void.
Right.
So being engineers, what do? They decide to investigate. They lowered a microphone, a very heat-resistant one, along with other gear, down into this hole.
And the readings.
Apparently, the temperature was insane, over 1,000 degrees Celsius. But that wasn't even the main thing.
No, the main thing was the sound.
Exactly. The kicker was the recording they claimed to capture. These, well, screams coming from below. And lots of people immediately thought,
Hell. Literal sounds of hell.
yeah,
But the truth behind this one, well, it's a bit less dramatic, but maybe more revealing about how stories spread.
okay.
It actually first popped up way earlier, in 1990, in an unnamed Finnish newspaper, of all places.
Finland, not Russia.
Not initially, no. From Finland, it got picked up by some Pentecostal Christian groups.
Okay.
And you can see how a story like that about literal hell might
Really
appeal,
scary.
right? It fits a certain worldview.
Sure, yeah, confirmation bias.
Exactly. And it spread. Eventually, it landed on the American Christian Trinity Broadcasting Network, PBN, and they presented it as basically proof, undeniable proof of a literal hell.
Wow. So TBN just broadcast it
Oof.
without checking.
Seems like it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, how does a story like this gain so much traction? It taps into pre-existing beliefs. TBN saw something that confirmed what they already thought was true.
The need for verification just disappears.
It often does, yeah. Especially when the story is powerful and fits the narrative perfectly.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because someone noticed. Enter Oj Rendelin. He's sometimes called Brendelin in some sources, but Rendelin seems to be the guy.
Okay.
He was apparently just disgusted with TBN. He saw them broadcasting this stuff totally unverified and thought it was wrong. So he decided to, well, test them.
Oh.
He cooked up this whole elaborate plan. He sent TBN more information, adding to the Well to Hell story. He claimed, get this, a bat-like creature flew out of the well and shot across the Russian sky.
Seriously. A bat thing?
Yep. And to make it look real, he took a completely unrelated Norwegian newspaper article. I think it was about a building inspector or something totally boring.
Building inspector. Oh, come on.
Right. He deliberately mistranslated it into English to sound like it supported his wild story and sent both versions to TBN. And the craziest part, he included his real name, address, phone number.
His real detail.
Yeah. And even the details of a friend who knew it was a hoax and had agreed, apparently, to spill the beans if TBN actually called to check.
So what did TBN do? Did they call?
Nope.
They just ran with the bat story, too.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
They broadcast the augmented story, still presented as proof. No verification.
Unbelievable. And the screams, the original proof.
Ah, yes. Those infamous screams.
Yeah.
Turns out they were lifted from, well, a sound effects library. Specifically, sounds used in a 1972 horror movie called Barren Blood.
A horror movie soundtrack. So not the tormented souls of the damned.
Not quite, no. Just sound effects. It really makes you question things, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. What does this all mean for how we approach information, especially information that confirms what we want to believe?
It's a huge lesson in critical thinking, isn't it? Proof can be manufactured very easily, it seems.
And confirmation bias is powerful. People will accept things that fit their beliefs without much scrutiny. It's a dangerous path.
Okay, so that was a deliberate, calculated hoax. But what about places where the lines aren't so clear? Places that have genuinely earned a reputation as a gate, maybe through geology or ancient stories or even modern weirdness.
Right, let's shift gears. There are places that feel like gateways, even without a hoax. A really dramatic, very real example, Turkmenistan's door to hell.
Ah, yes, the Darvaza gas crater. I've seen pictures. It looks incredible.
It is. And it's entirely real. It wasn't dug looking for hell. It was a natural gas field that collapsed into a cavern back in 1971.
So how did it become the door to hell?
Well, it was leaking methane gas, which is dangerous. So geologists decided the best course was to set it on fire, thinking it would burn off in a few weeks.
But it didn't.
No, it's still burning today,
Yeah.
decades later. So you have this huge fiery crater in the middle of the desert. It's easy to see why I got the nickname. It's a very real, very visual ball of fire.
Yeah, that's amazing. A geological feature that looks exactly like you'd imagine a gate to hell. Makes you wonder about ancient myths, doesn't it?
Definitely. Now, moving from geology to something more spiritual, St. Patrick's Purgatory in Ireland.
Okay, tell me about that one.
It's a monastery on Station Island in Lough Derg. The legend is old. It says Jesus showed St. Patrick a cave right there on the island.
A cave.
Yes, a cave where Patrick could supposedly witness visions of hell's punishments. A direct viewing portal, essentially.
Wow. Can people visit this cave?
The general public isn't usually allowed access to the monastery itself, but it's still a major pilgrimage site. Every year, devout Christians go there for what's known as one of the toughest pilgrimages in Europe, focused on penance and prayer.
So the belief itself makes the place powerful.
Absolutely, the belief transforms the space. It doesn't need literal fire. The perceived connection to the underworld is enough. It shows how we try to make abstract spiritual ideas, well, concrete, tangible.
Okay, let's jump across the Atlantic. A more modern American case. A house in Amityville, Indiana. Different from the famous Long Island one, right?
Yes, different Amityville. This one gained notoriety more recently. Zach Baggins, from the Ghost Adventures TV show, he actually bought this house in 2014.
Why? What was the story there?
Really disturbing claims. Possessions, intense poltergeist-type activity, just general scariness. And apparently, some of these claims were even noted in Child Protective Services reports, which adds a layer of, well, official concern.
That sounds serious. What happened to the house?
The activity was reportedly so bad, so negative, that Baggins eventually had the entire house demolished, destroyed completely.
Woo! He tore it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, of course, only adds to the mystery. This raises an important question, though. When does extreme haunting or perceived haunting cross the line into being seen as a gateway?
Right. How do you even define that?
It's tricky, especially when media attention amplifies everything. It becomes a sort of modern-day gateway created by stories and fear, maybe more than anything physical.
Speaking of fear and stories, what about Satan's Hollow? That name is pretty direct.
It is, isn't it? This is more of an urban legend, apparently well known locally, but maybe not a place many people actually visit.
So what's the legend?
The claims are pretty standard for this kind of thing, but it's still creepy. Supposedly, a group of Satanists used the area, had some kind of altar room, performed rituals,
Yeah.
and allegedly they succeeded in opening a doorway to hell there.
Right. Standard urban legend fare, maybe. But is there anything else to it?
Well, there's an interesting detail. A paranormal filmmaker supposedly went to investigate, and he apparently cut the investigation short, claiming it was the single scariest place he'd ever been.
Coming from someone in that line of work.
Exactly. It adds a bit of weight, doesn't it, even if it's anecdotal. It shows how these local legends can create really powerful, charged spaces, almost self-fulfilling prophecies of fear.
Okay, one last location, and this one sounds incredibly atmospheric. Houska Castle in the Czech Republic.
Yes, about 80 kilometers north of Prague. Houska Castle is fascinating. The central rumor is that it wasn't built for protection from invaders, but to contain something within. It's supposedly built directly over a massive hole in the ground, a bottomless pit, they said, believed to be a literal portal to hell.
Built over a portal to keep things in.
That's the legend. And the architecture is weird. Lots of fake windows from the inside. They look like windows, but they just look onto solid castle walls behind the glass.
Strange. Why?
No one knows for sure, but it adds to the feeling that the castle's focus is internal. And there's a chapel built right over the spot where the hole is said to be, presumably to seal it. Spiritually, at least.
That's wild. A castle designed to keep demons in.
It's a unique idea, isn't it? What's fascinating here is how these ancient stories kind of mesh with modern history, too.
Before we get to that, isn't there a story about its construction? Something really grim.
Ah, yes. The legend is chilling. When they started building, the story goes, they offered condemned prisoners a deal.
What kind of deal?
Be lowered into the hole, report what you see, and you get a pardon. Freedom.
Did anyone take them up on it?
Yes. The first man they lowered down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he started screaming almost immediately, just blood-curdling screams.
And when they pulled him up?
They say his hair had turned completely white, and he looked like he'd aged 30 years in just those few moments. He died soon after, apparently driven mad.
Okay, that is genuinely terrifying.
It is. And then you have the more recent layer, the Nazi connection.
The Nazis were there.
They used the castle as a headquarters during WWII. And the rumor, naturally, is that they weren't just using it as a base. They were supposedly conducting occult experiments, trying to harness the power of the portal, maybe even open it.
Of course they were. It fits the narrative.
It does. It shows how these ancient fears about gateways just keep attaching themselves to new events, new villains, keeping the legend alive.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from a deliberate internet hoax, fooling millions,
Right.
to ancient legends tied to real places. A burning crater, a haunted house torn down, an urban legend's creepy reputation, and a castle built to keep evil in.
It's quite a journey.
All circling this idea of a gate to hell.
And I think it points to something deep in us. This enduring human fascination with the unknown, with darkness, the boundary between our world and whatever else might be out there.
We want to understand it, maybe even find it.
Or at least categorize it, yeah. Even the terrifying stuff. There's a need to map the edges of our reality.
So the final thought maybe, what does this constant search for these gates really tell us about ourselves, about our beliefs, how we grapple with good and evil? Maybe even just the limits of what we can comprehend.
Perhaps the real gateway isn't a physical place at all. Maybe it's in our minds, that space where fear and wonder mix, always trying to make sense of the things we can't quite explain.
Something to think about, definitely.